Erin, thank you so much for watching today's session on networking, virtual and in person. My name is Shannon Amaral. I'm the Career Services Program Specialist here at Fanshawe College. In the Employment and Student Entrepreneurial Services Department, we're located in D1063. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have it so easy when it comes to landing a job, while others have to submit dozens of applications before they even get a reply? It's all about networking. People who know the importance of networking are good at it and are good at finding jobs. Looking for a job is like trying to sell a product. The difference is that you are the product here, and it's your skills that you have for sale. Unless you're the only individual in the entire job market with the exact qualifications employers are looking for, you'll need to do a little bit more than just your resume to get noticed. Networking makes you known to employers and to people who might recommend you to employers. It helps to know successful people in the field of work who can offer invaluable advice and help you in finding a job. Why is networking so important? The reason networking is so important is that more than 80% of jobs are not posted. The number of jobs advertised in newspapers and websites is nothing compared to the number of jobs that are never advertised. It is estimated that between 70 and 80% of jobs are not published. So who gets these jobs? The people who know the importance of networking and are networking actively. This means joining professional networks such as LinkedIn, communicating with other members of their network regularly, and actually going out and talking to employers. So just remember that preference is always going to be given to personal connections. So it is no secret that a lot of hiring is done through personal connections, such as friends and acquaintances. So because of this, you never get to hear about job openings unless you know an employer or someone who knows the employer. Employers place a considerable amount of preference for candidates they personally know and can trust. So instead of pouring, all day over advertisements, sending out applications, you should be utilizing your time networking with professionals, honing up on your skills and communicating with other employers. The number one thing you can do is it's going to allow you to help other people. So one of the most important benefits in networking that people tend to overlook is that it allows you to help other people as well to obtain their career goals, which can really be truly rewarding. Think about, helping someone get their first job. So for example, putting in a good word for them. Someone might get a promotion. Just all about, helping other people as well is a great way that you can provide them with connections, and you never know down the road if they can provide you connections as well. The other great thing about networking is it allows you to exchange fresh ideas. Most of us try to stay up to date with changes in our fields, either through continuing our education or reading up on industry news, but there's a lot of wealth of knowledge out there which can be gained from accessing by simply talking to other people, other professionals in our industry. So being on the receiving end of these fresh ideas allows you to introduce new practices into your workplace and impress your boss. But more importantly, it helps you to remain on the top trends and developments in your industry. This is not just healthy for your employment status, but it's also a great first step in your professional growth. Number 3, it's going to make you, more visible. So how many professionals fail to understand that there's a fight to stand between you and the crowd once you get that job? In fact, making yourself more visible in that workplace is not only more difficult, but it also requires a lot more finesse as well. One of the advantages of networking is to help you become more visible to the right people. And you want to do so through your contacts. You can gradually become that one person that everybody knows and is asked to make introductions, provide insights on clients, associates, and even competitors within an organization. It also allows you it opens doors for new opportunities. So networking makes you more visible and also opens up new doors. So from being approached by recruiters about a job opportunity to getting noticed by people who you'd like to work with, maybe on a freelance basis, you never know when an opportunity can advance your career or when it can present itself. It's important to understand that opportunities not only present themselves in forms of jobs, but they can also mean meeting an important person in that industry can change the course of your career, such as being given the chance to start your own business as well and becoming an entrepreneur. It also allows you to express opinions. So unlike your friends and family, a professional network is there to share opinions about the industry and for you guys to be able to exchange information. You can discuss industry-related matters that you have been thinking about, as well as to ask for advice. Having this kind of support system is one of the many advantages of networking and why it's important for people to be encouraged to take an active role in building their network. And lastly, it becomes your resource. You probably have tons of questions about your industry that not only Google can help you with. So talking to other professionals, and this can even include your colleagues as well, can help you solve a lot of your inquiries. Your professional network is essential to a part of your function as a resource because, as you know, as we get older, 2 minds are better than having 1. Having these connections means that you can tap into each other's knowledge whenever you need to and vice versa. So talking about your network, who is your network? Your network always begins with people you feel comfortable contacting and moves outward to people you don't already know. So your network, you can see, starts off with you, your family, your friends and your neighbors, your coworkers and your classmates, your teachers and employers, your community groups, and anyone and everyone. The next couple slides, we're going to talk a little bit about networking. So when we talk about networking, you really want to make sure you're connecting with people you know to ask for referrals and job leads. You want to obviously start with people you know, just as we showed you on the previous screen. So people you know may not have jobs for you, but they know people that might be able to steer you in that right direction. You also want to make sure that you seek out new contacts to build your network, which can ultimately generate new leads. And remember, networking is always a two-way street. So be sure to connect with people who connect with you. And remember, networking can be formal and informal. And as we said on the other slide, networking can be anywhere, anytime, and even online. So we're just going to talk a little bit about networking activities that can be done virtually. So you want to utilize the Career Services Office. We do have several events that happen. Some of them will be program specific and related. Others may be just a whole networking event. We do have other career fairs that happen as well. So just always keep an eye on accessing the career event page. You also want to make sure that you're actively engaging with your faculty members. You want to reach out to other faculty members as well. So it doesn't always have to be your circle of faculty members within your academic school. Also look at other faculty members as well. Your teachers may also refer you to other faculty members. You want to also try to talk to recent grads. So maybe your professors might have recent grads, or you know of a friend that knows of a friend that you might be able to connect with, that you can ask for an informational interview. I want to talk a little bit about an informational interview for those of you that may not know what that means. An informational interview is not to ask for a job. It's pretty much just to have a conversation. It can be done over the phone, in person, face-to-face. And basically you're asking about how somebody got to where they got. You can ask them about their career, about their company. It's not an opportunity for you to ask for a job. But maybe you might be contacting them to say, who can I tension a resume and cover letter to? But informational interviews really gauge a lot of information on how this individual got to where they got, and it could be a great help in your journey in finding employment. You want to make sure you're using LinkedIn as one of those professional networks as well. And you want to take advantage of other networking events, and we're going to mention a few of them as we progress through the workshop. And you also want to make sure that you connect with companies of your choice. So you should be connecting with companies of your choice on social media. Make sure you're following them on all their social media platforms. Earlier, we just mentioned about different networking events. Here's a list of examples of other networking events that you can access. And we'll just name a few of them today. Eventbrite. There's Facebook events. There's the London Chamber of Commerce. There's clubs. LondonProfessionals.ca, 10,000 Coffees, other groups, LinkedIn, and Meetup.com. Access some of these events. Join certain events that are of interest to you that you never know when you're going to meet that right connection, that right network that might be able to provide you some additional leads. And like we said earlier, it's a two-way street. So before a virtual event, there's a couple things you want to go over. You want to make sure you test through your equipment and your sound. You want to make sure that whatever platform system you're using, whether it's Zoom, whether it's WebEx or any other platform, you have that software downloaded on your computer. You want to prepare in a quiet location. You want to make sure it's a clean background. Your space for the interview has good lighting. You want to make sure you have your resume and a pen and paper nearby. You don't want to be using your keyboard to be entering in notes. You want to make sure, even though the event is done virtually, you still want to make sure you're dressing for success, just as you would if you're going for an in-person interview. And you always want to make sure you practice ahead of time. You don't want to memorize your answers, but you want to make sure you have responses to commonly asked questions. And you always want to prepare for your elevator pitch. And you want to research that industry so that if, you can ask a question to show that you're interested and that you've done your research. You also want to remember that when you're having a virtual event, it's also a positive thing because you can actually have notes behind your screen, but you don't want to read anything word for word, but you can also take advantage of having handy notes to you as well. I know we touched on a little bit, but we're just going to go through a full virtual network event and all the things to consider to best prepare you. So choose a quiet location. That means removing all distractions, your pets, your children's, your roommates, your TV, your phone. You want to ensure your area is visible on webcam and that it's free of clutter. You might want to even try a neutral background. You want to make sure you gather all your documents. So that means a copy of the job description, the resume you submitted, important information about the company and the organization. You also want to make sure, as we said earlier, have a pen and paper handy. You don't want to be using your laptop or your keyboard to enter in any notes. You want to test your technology ahead of time. Practice using that particular platform with a family or friend. Make sure your audio is correct. Have a backup plan that if that particular device is not working, what other device can you use? And if it's possible, turn off all your notification and alerts and sounds off your computer or your phone or tablet. You want to make sure you're maintaining professionalism at all times. So that means dressing appropriately, just as you would for an in-person interview. Be aware of those nonverbal cues. Making sure you're giving that, eye contact, maintaining good posture, looking at the camera, not at the screen, so the employer can see that you're making eye contact. You want to make sure you're speaking in a conversational voice, just as you were if you were in person. For your phone interview, make sure you smile when you're talking about something positive, because even though the employer can't see you, smiling can impact your inflection and make you sound more friendly and positive. You also want to make sure you teach yourself to be comfortable with silence. So when you can't see the person who's talking to you, their body language, their facial expressions, you may feel the need to fill in that silence with talking. Allow the employer some time to take notes after you finish answering each question. Before answering each question, take a second and wait. Acknowledge the question with a nod, and then speak to ensure that the interviewer is finished speaking so you don't end up speaking over them. You always want to prepare for glitches. Always have a backup plan. Introduce yourself, with a smile. Turn your camera on if possible and smile. You always want to be mindful of your body language, so monitor your own body language. Make sure you're sitting still, looking at the camera, giving direct eye contact, even if they can't hear you. You always want to make sure you deliver your elevator pitch. Speak slowly, monitor the pace of your speech in case there's glitches or delays. You want to make sure you ask relevant questions. So do more listening than talking when you do that. Learn the names and the contact information. Make a note to the people you meet. Zoom is helpful for displaying names, but ask for their contact information as well. And lastly, we say send out a thank you follow-up after every event. The rule of thumb is within 24 to 48 hours. Highlight something you learned from that particular person, but there should always be some form of a follow-up. Tell me about yourself. That's probably one of the commonly asked questions in an interview and in a networking event. So when you first, are asked, many people often respond with, sometimes including a long career history, starting with their first job, or with like a detailed account of what they have done over their career. So when you are answering this question, you want to make sure you don't miss the opportunity to present yourself in a clear, concise way. So we always want to encourage you to develop a short, practiced, focused, tell me about yourself. And what you want to do here is you want to talk about your key skills. You want to talk about relevant work experience, including the names of the organizations you worked for. You also want to make sure you, provide some form of evidence of your achievements and what you are looking for. Everybody has skills, so it's important to make sure you identify the skills which are transferable to all other situations, which are always valuable to all employers. When we answer the question about tell me about yourself, you want to aim for like a 1-minute delivery or like 120 words when it's written. It's best to always write it out and then practice saying it so that it sounds more natural. The statement should always avoid claims that I'm a good team player, I am focused and determined. Who would not make those claims when you're talking about yourself? You really just want to make sure that when you're answering those questions, you're making sure you're keeping it career and interest related, and refrain from talking about bringing up your family as well. So just keep that in mind when you are answering that question of tell me about yourself. But basically, just as a recap, you want to make sure that you introduce your qualifications, your skills, your skills, your accomplishment, what makes you different. It should always make sure that it's always pertaining to the job that you are talking about. Keep it always career related. There's nothing wrong with adding, including additional information like interest or hobbies that demonstrate your personality, but you really want to make sure you keep it career and personally related, but don't be talking about family and how many children you have. You really, again, want to keep it focused to your career. Here's an example here, how you can craft your elevator pitch. So this is a great example to get you started when you're trying to craft. How could you introduce yourself when they ask you to tell you a little bit about yourself? So feel free to use this template to get you started. You're obviously going to have to adjust the content based on the items that you want to include, but this will be a great way to get you started. You can also find this information by going on to your FOL account under resources, selecting career co-op and CCR, and selecting my toolkit, where you can find all the helpful handouts that our career services department has for you. When we talk about dressing appropriately at networking events, people are judging you, so you want to make sure you make that right first impression from the moment you enter the room. Think about the color, the style, the fit of your clothes, while reflecting on your personal brand and image. It is so important to not just dress professionally for a virtual event as it is in person. So when you feel good, you become more confident as well. So make sure you're dressing the same way. Here's a couple examples for business professional. And on the next screen here, we have some examples of business casual. So basically, we're not saying you have to wear a suit and tie and a jacket to every meeting, but you do not want to be going in to an interview wearing jeans and shorts and running shoes. For males, you should be looking at a pair of khaki pants with a dress shirt or golf shirt, depending on the type of interview you're going for. And for females, it could be a dress, it could be a nice pair of dressy pants. So again, just be mindful of the clothing, regardless of it's in person or virtual, it should still be dressed the same. So next, we're going to talk about using LinkedIn to expand your network. So here's what I would say to someone who's asked me, how do they ace their first, LinkedIn local event? You want to keep in mind that many people at this event don't have an underlying love for LinkedIn. There are always several attendees who accompany their friends or hear about a particular speaker. Every LinkedIn event is the first and foremost a networking event, which means that you have attendees that are attending these events from various levels of knowledge about LinkedIn. LinkedIn events are not limited to any particular one industry, which means that you'll have everyone from startups to startups, could be entrepreneurs. These events, skew towards entrepreneur type. Anyone can attend and learn from their experience. However, if you have no interest in social media, then this may not be the right event for you. So just keep that in mind. I would always recommend asking a question to the speaker during the Q&A session. Asking questions is just a great way for you to break the ice for the rest of the night, because people often come up to you to comment on your question. So asking a question is always an easy way to leave an impression on the speakers, who are often, well-established entrepreneurs as well. But just remember to make sure you take that, deep breath. Come on out to a LinkedIn local event. You won't regret attending a networking event and learning more about LinkedIn as well. The knowledge you learn will be great, and the people you encounter will be even better. So here's a great way to start. These are just some suggested people to follow. So again, try to follow at least one of each of these groups to get yourself started. As you become more comfortable, then you'll see which ones are right for you. But we've listed friends, professors, coworkers, former coworkers, networking event contacts, mentors, business celebrities, LinkedIn influencers, companies that you're interested in, companies where you have worked, groups targeting your industry, news outlets, community groups, professional associates, alumni groups, and schools like Fanshawe College, just to get you started. We always want to talk about follow-up. So if you want it, you have to be able to reach for it. So just like any networking event, it's always important to make sure you follow up with every event where you possibly haven't met someone face-to-face before. Keeping in touch and staying memorable is extremely essential. It's one of the biggest parts of creating connections and keeping up with them. So just remember, networking is all about building connections that may not only pay off years down the road. So it's important to make sure that you stay in touch over a period of long term. This means connecting on LinkedIn and on other social media platforms, and just make sure you connect with them, setting up a system to remind yourself to check in. So for instance, on LinkedIn, you can even set a reminder directly on your account under that particular contact's profile, where you can ping to get in touch with them a few months from now. But just make sure you remember, a major part of, forming real lasting connections over virtual networking, if possible. So, try to use social media and email to keep in touch. It's so important to make sure you're asking professionals to meet virtually at a networking event, or to meet up for coffee, maybe to meet up in person is always the best way to take that relationship to the next level. The other thing we want you to know is that as students, you have access to interviewing.com. Interviewing.com allows you to practice your skills over a webcam. So that could be something that could be done on the comfort of your home, especially if you're somebody that's not comfortable with interviewers, going through interviews or even attending networking events. You can practice yourself, and it's just a great way to become more comfortable with technology and to see yourself on camera and how you provide responses to commonly asked questions. So feel free to access this particular service that's available to you, interviewing.com. That's available on your FOL account by selecting Career Co-op and CCR. And on the next slide here, we're just going to watch a video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Networking. My name is Laurel Teal, and I'm a career consultant in employment and student entrepreneurial services. You probably hear the word networking a lot and wonder why it's so important. Well, the answer's simple. 80% of jobs are not posted on job boards, in newspapers, or on the help wanted signs that you see in store windows. If you limit yourself to watching for jobs that are advertised, you might be missing out on some awesome opportunities. The answer to this problem is simple though. Networking is essential to opening up the doors to a realm of new possibilities. Your networking may include friends and family, people that you know through past work experiences, classmates, professors, and people that you haven't met yet. I know that the idea of networking can be scary and intimidating, but with practice and stepping out of your comfort zone, it does get easier and the benefits are worth it. So where do you start? Attend a networking event. Yes, networking events can be awkward, but rather than avoiding them, know that there are probably people in that room that feel the same way as you do. Whether there's an event here at the college or somewhere in the community, you will want to be prepared. So consider having business cards with you. Deliver a winning handshake. Dress for success. Relax, chat, and connect with others. Introduce people to other people. Listen attentively and be prepared with some questions and some knowledge about the trends that are happening in your industry right now. Be respectful, punctual, and courteous. Be genuine. Ask for some business cards and have your elevator pitch ready. When someone asks you the question, "Tell me about yourself," focus on your qualifications, skills, accomplishments, and career goals, and what makes you different. Keep it work and career related, and consider including some hobbies and interests that highlight your personality. Now, when you're networking, there's also some things that you want to avoid. These might be asking for a job, or if an employer is hiring, talking too much, waiting for others to approach you. You really want to use networking to show that you are confident and personable. And having too many drinks. Networking events are not parties, and you want to ensure that you can keep your level of professionalism at a high level. You never know who you're going to meet and the impression that you're going to make on others, so make sure it's a good first impression. Lastly, and most importantly, follow up. Follow up with your newly formed contact the next day. Express your appreciation for their time and include details about your conversation. By doing this, you solidify your relationship with that person, gives you a chance to ask some questions, and request a one-to-one meeting. And don't forget to access some of the resources that you have available to you to help you fine-tune your skills. Consider practicing your elevator pitch on Interview Stream or stopping into D1063 to speak with a career consultant. We hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for watching today's session. We hope you found this helpful. If any of you need additional assistance, please visit us online, and please feel free to book an appointment with one of your career consultants. Just remember, we're here for you. Thanks so much.